Welcome everyone to the last Panos marketing webinar of 2023. Today's topic is knowledge is power, and we're going to be diving into what you need to know about what goes into planning for a new website. This is a no sales, nothing but the facts kind of webinar. My name is Andrew Zeller, and I work here at Panos in the creative department as a senior web designer and team lead. And today I am joined by some awesome peeps from our team here at Panos. I will let them introduce themselves quickly, starting with Liz, followed by Matt.
Hi, I'm Liz Hanna. I am the Director of Project Management and Web Support at Panos. I've been here for 9 years, and pretty much for most of those 9 years, I've worked with these two characters on building out websites.
I'm Matt Larrabee. I'm the Director of Web Services. I've been at Panos for about 15 years now. We've launched I think over 200 websites since I've been here, all for FIs and banks and credit unions.
All right. Well, so to get this thing started, you two, what should FIs consider when it's time to send out an RFP?
Yeah, sure. We look at a lot of RFPs and they really do vary. I think the key thing that people might want to think about before they send out an RFP is really working internally, really thinking with the people that have an interest in the website inside the organization on what they need and want from the website. Where is the institution going? Where is the growth going? What are the things that you need to do and accomplish on the website? And those should very much mirror what you can do in a branch. We learned from COVID that so many people are going to the website, and even the people that you want to attract are really going to the website and not your branch. So your website should really be a reflection of what somebody can do in the branch, and not only what they can do, but how they are treated and greeted and responded to in your branch is what your website should reflect. And that can get down into not only being able to open accounts or things like that, but the tone, the way the imagery looks and things like that. So we really think that it's important for you to do some internal work with your teams to figure out what you want your website to accomplish. I think there are also things that should be considered on the back end, and that is, are you going to be able to update your website? When you build a branch and all of the things that you put into your branch, it would be kind of terrible if the architect said, hey, those posters in the branch, you're never going to be able to update those. I'm going to have to do all that work for you. So it's really important to figure out, are you going to be able to make those updates on your website? And Matt, I think we see those things come up a lot of times when we talk to banks, some of those questions about being able to update and the type of website that they're looking to build.
I mean, I think it's very difficult for banks to know and credit unions to know what questions to ask when doing an RFP. This isn't something they do every day. Like, we do websites every day of our lives, but it's a 3 to 5 year thing for them. So for me, it's like going to buy a car. I never know what questions I should ask. The only thing I know about buying a car is threaten that you want to go to the competition and check their cars out before you go. But really, there's definitely a list of things that every FI needs on their website, and that's a good place to start. I think some of those that you want to ask about on your RFP, ADA compliance, definitely for financial institutions. You want to ask what compliance do they offer? So what levels of compliance? Compliance in ADA is geared on, they have WCAG, there's a 2-point, it's got to be something. Normally right now you'll hear 2.1, and there's got to be A compliance, AA, and AAA compliance. For FIs right now, you want it to be at AA compliance. So if somebody says we remediate to single A compliance, that probably doesn't cut it. Most people think that when they standardize this for the US, it's going to be AA compliance. So you're going to want to shoot for that. AAA, really, that's not achievable for most websites nowadays. It's not something that, there's a lot of things in there that are more high lofty goals that even though internet's not ready for right now. So AA compliance is what you should shoot for ADA. Another big one for FIs is security. So you really want to know what security measures they take, how they're developing your website. If it's something like a WordPress site, what are they doing to ensure they're patching all vulnerabilities, making updates constantly on keeping the website up to date in the core WordPress or whatever CMS it's on. And also not just that, but their personnel, like in the company itself, how do they handle security? How do they handle backups of data, things like that from a technical side? A couple more on that list. What Liz said, editability. That's something that not a lot of people think about when they're building their website. They see a design, they see things like that, but they don't think about, am I going to be able to update this after it's launched? So that's a really important aspect. You don't want to have to go back to the agency every time you want to make a small update on the site. So that's something that can really affect the cost long-term of a website, is how much you're going to have to update it after it's launched.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's important that I'm not sure that everybody thinks about, but I know we do have these conversations with people, is that the ability to update and then what kind of support is available afterwards as well. So what does that look like once you've launched your site? You know, we always build to be able to provide people a custom website that they can manage and update themselves as much as possible. But asking those questions, and I think that that's a really important thing. I know I was going to talk about that a little bit later, but asking those questions when you've issued an RFP and you've gotten a response back, you know, to the folks that are responding to your RFP, you know, what sorts of support do you provide? What are those turnaround times? What do things look like if I need help doing something? And I think those aren't the inherent things that come up when someone is thinking about an RFP for a website. So I think those are some of the important things there as well. I know there's a lot of, everybody wants SEO, right? We want to be top of the search. We want to be, you know, right out there and everything like that. Those are the things to ask about too. How's the website built for best SEO practices? How's that incorporated? How does your agency do those sorts of things? So I think those are some of the other things that people need to be thinking about with their RFP as well.
And I think one big thing too that a lot of people miss on RFPs is asking about tracking, and you want to ensure return on investment. A website's a big expense, no matter what kind of site you go for. You want to be able to track return on investment in at least a handful of different ways. So you need to be able to track conversions on the site. You need to be able to track how it's performing in the past and how it changes when you make updates in the future. So you need to be able to tell if those updates you're making are working or not. So that's something that's very important that I think we don't see on a lot of RFPs, things about tracking. So those are really the necessities, I think, of an RFP. Then I think each FI has specific needs that they're going to come to in an RFP, and a lot of that's determined by your demographics, like what segments do you have? Are you in different states? Do you have very broad kind of different customer bases that you need to market to? That's going to change the approach of how a website's made and change how it's built. So those are important things to mention when you're working on an RFP. As long as as well as like Liz mentioned, your specific goals. So you might have goals of increasing your business side of the website. Others might want to work on mortgages or deposit accounts right now is a big one. So those are things you want to come to too, because the structure of the website might be different depending on which parts of your business you are really making a push on.
Some good stuff. So with everything you've shared with me, keeping that all in mind, can you break down the cost for me? What would I get with all that?
Well, I think some of it depends on your financial institution, and it depends on, again, what you want your website to do and how you want your website to reflect your brand. You know, are you looking to have a website that's got custom content, custom design, a custom build? Those are all great things and can really reflect who you are and kind of break you out with the competition. Or is it something where, you're looking for more of something like a templated website where it's, very simple and basic, but really what you need and based on what you've got from a resource perspective on your end. So I think there are a bunch of different factors that go into it. Um, you want to make sure, as we talked about before, that it's easy to update, that you can manage it yourself, or if that's not something that you can do based on your own staffing, what that support would look like from somebody else. There are a lot of different things that go into, what you receive or what you get when you're looking for an RFP, and it certainly does depend on what the institution's strategic goals are, what you're looking to do, and what you have the capacity to do from an updating perspective.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some things you want to look at on proposals of what you're getting from on a proposal. One is if they charge by pages. Most people have a lot more pages on their site than they think they have. Most clients that we talk to say like, oh, I have 80 pages on my site. A lot of times it's 300 or so. So as you have a site, just more and more pages get added to it, and a lot of times you have a lot. So those will be compacted in the process and trimmed down, but you want to make sure that that's in your mind when you're thinking about proposals and the quotes and things like that. You want to think about your add-ons that you want, or if those are included in the estimate, if those are going to come out later when you're talking about things. Also, one thing that's big is making sure that the estimate is locked down. So one thing that's important is you don't want to get an estimate and then it keep increasing as the website project goes on. One thing that's, if possible, try to lock in at least the high end of an estimate where you can make an agreement. A lot of agencies will do this where you say, if the scope doesn't change, we're not going to charge you above what we estimated. We're going to keep to the estimate. I won't say a lot of agencies do that, but we do have panels, and I know some do, where you're not going to have any surprises. You don't want surprises when you're doing one of these projects and find out later on that you have all this more money that you have to spend on it. The cost, what do I get? Those are the two big differences you'll see. You'll have template sites and then you'll have customized sites. That's really the gamut that website builds will run when you go to an agency. And there's definitely some very distinct differences between the two. I know Liz mentioned some, definitely the kind of the limited shared design that you'd get in a template site. So template sites, they'll be less flexible. They'll be harder to add customizations. They usually rely more on third-party code. It's a cheaper initial build. They're generally a little more static. Future expansion can be difficult. The benefits, though, of a template site is they're cheaper initially, and they're usually faster initial build. So you have your website live quicker. A customized design is definitely usually a longer process. There's a lot more steps involved with that. Liz can go over some of those steps. But it's a custom branded design, much more flexible and easier to add on custom functionality to. You can do advanced features like personalization and marketing automation a lot easier with a custom site. And it should be easier to update in the future and things like that. But Liz, do you want to talk about kind of the process between the two?
Yeah, sure. And I think the key thing with the customization versus a template is really, again, and I know I keep going back to that, but where is your financial institution and where are you looking to grow? And how easy will it be to grow the website with you? Because we know it's a 3 to 5 year sort of standardization before it's time to update to the next one. So where are you going to be in those 3 to 5 years, and can the website keep up with all of that? We work on really customizing websites for clients, and I don't want to get into sales at all, so I'm struggling a little bit here to kind of span the line here, but it's really customized sites are built around you and your institution. And that's really from the ground up. And that, as I think I mentioned before, starts with the photography, the imagery, the journey that somebody is going to take. And that's customized for the institution. And there's a difference there between that and a templated site. The journey may be one of 3 that you have available versus a custom journey that fits your institution. the content written specifically for how people want to be greeted, how you want people to be spoken to. It should mirror what you talk about in the branch, how you talk in the branch. It should be part of who you are. That may not be available in a templated site as much. So I think there are quite a few things to consider. Now, again, just as Matt said, that doesn't mean that a templated site is not something to consider. It really still goes back to where are you going, what things do you need to do, and where are you able to, what is your price point and what you're looking for the future.
You guys ready for another question?
Did
So
we answer that one?
as you kind of covered both a template and a custom, if I were an FI, how would I know what the right website is? What should I choose between kind of those two big pillars?
I think the first thing to understand is the difference between the two, and the best way I could describe it is to say this range of websites goes from informational to relational. So the big difference is that template sites are usually more informational. Even custom sites can be informational, where you're getting the information out to users. They know about your locations, they know about your products. They have content on the website that they can go to and look up. Versus a relational website, which I would say most customized sites are really striving for, is something that meets a customer where they're at. So in building relationships, you're not going to want to have the same interaction with everybody you meet. Just like people have different ways that you talk to them, different interests, things like that, so do customers that go to a bank site. A really good site is going to be able to meet them exactly where they are and personalize the site, personalize their experience based on where they're at and what their needs are. So it's more relationship based. It's more about really connecting with the individual who's on your site and leading them toward the process, helping them, building trust in them. And so, I mean, some things to think about in that aspect is your site do you want your site to inform customers, or do you want your site to convert customers? So those are, that's really where return on investment comes into play. Your website can be your best selling tool you have, or it can just be a brochure. So that's a big difference. That's where the price of a customized site can really pay off. If you're generating income from your website, that's going to quickly pay off the difference between the cost. Some other things to think about is, we say this a lot, like your website is the first impression for most users. So before they go see a branch, maybe you have beautiful branches. That's great. That's great for your brand. That's great for customers. But a lot of times the first thing they're going to see is your website. So you want to make sure that that's equally user-friendly, effective, beautiful, in the same manner. One big thing that probably is on everybody's mind, the first thing they think of is the cost between these two. So definitely a template site is going to be cheaper upfront. A customized site is going to be more expensive upfront. But you also have to think about cost later down the line. So updates are going to cost differently on a template site and a customized site a lot of times. So if you decide you want to expand your mortgage lending team pages or your mortgage side of the site, a lot of times that can cost a lot more on a template site because they have to rework the templates. They have to do a lot of things that are not convenient for them. So think of that. Also think of revenue generation, which is one that a lot of people don't think of when they're building a site. Your website usually generates a lot of revenue for your FI. So if you're building a customized site that generates revenue a lot better than a templated one, that's going to easily outweigh the benefits of the cheaper initial build. There's no one perfect solution for everybody. It really depends on your FI.
Liz, did you have anything? Are you good?
No, I think that's all great information. I always do go back to what Matt said about in many cases, and then particularly for the people that you want to attract. We hear time and again, Gen X, millennials, things like that. Chances are they're not going to go to a branch, or very rarely, or dragging their feet will they go to a branch. So your website is their first impression of you and determines whether or not they want to do business with you. How simple is it for them to do that? The other thing I do want to bring up, because Matt mentioned it a little bit, and we do talk about the website having, a life, as I said before, about of 3 to 5 years or so. So when you are thinking about an RFP and you are thinking about things, maybe you're planning on adding investments or trusts and services and things like that, but it's not going to be for another 18 months or so. How easy is it going to be for you to add that information into the site? And Matt touched on that a little bit, but I do want to just kind of get you thinking about those sorts of things when you're thinking about an RFP. What sorts of things are going to be coming down the line in that time span that you would need to add to the website? Because that will be important to see and to consider when you're building out a site, and especially what type of site you look to build.
Well, as somebody, you both mentioned like first impressions and beautiful sites, and as somebody who is personally responsible for delivering beautiful sites, I'm going to interject an opinion here nobody asked for, but I would say, if you're struggling with should I do a template or a custom site, always do the custom site. And I'll just kind of leave it at that. And anyone listening can ask me to expand on that later. But you two speak with a lot of clients and potential clients on kind of a day-to-day basis. And what kind of things do you hear them saying or discussing about other agencies? What's the dirt?
I don't know if I want to share any dirt or anything. I don't know it's necessarily dirt. That just felt so loaded. I think mostly what we hear is, and I just feel like I'm saying this again and again, and whatever talking about it, but I do think it's the lack of ability to grow the site with the FI. And whether that's just updating it or the technology or the integrations and things like that. And I don't think that people realize that when they enter into that original arrangement to build a website. I think that's more of what we hear when we talk to people. I just think that that's something really important to be thinking about, is more of that long term. Yes, what am I going to get when the project is complete, but what is it going to look like for the duration of the website? So that's a lot of what I kind of hear, is how to maintain that site and grow and help it grow with the institution.
I think one thing that's important too is the experience of the FI in the industry. Most people are looking for a website, but most people need more than a website. They need a strategic partner. So they need somebody who has done this before, somebody who knows financial industry, who knows what works and what doesn't work. That can be very helpful, especially if you haven't done many websites in the past. If you can't track your own site very well at the moment, you might not have a great idea of how to build deposit accounts through your website, or if a competition branch closes down the street, how to market to that area through your website. Things like that are definitely important, especially for smaller marketing teams who don't have the staff to really research those things and get into those things a lot. Having an agency that can offer some strategic advice along with the website build, I think is important, and probably under utilized aspect of RFPs.
I think that's true. I think a lot of people, want to support local. And, so there's consideration of local website builders and things like that. And that's all well and good, for sure. Supporting local is really important. But what are you going to get with the supporting local? Do you have people at that local agency that have the banking experience, that know compliance, that are able to successfully implement ADA? We have looked at websites that have launched before and we thought, yikes, not quite passing ADA, and there's no widget on there to help somebody with ADA. So, those are still things to think about. If you do want to go local, just ask more questions. And I think that's really the key thing that I want to say here is, after you have issued out an RFP and you've received responses, make the time to set up calls with those people that have responded to ask some of those questions. Make sure you know what it is that you're getting, and don't be afraid to ask those. Anybody that is reputable in that area is going to be willing to answer them.
Along those same lines, ask the opinion of the agency you want to work with. So if you're struggling to build deposit accounts. On that RFP call, ask them what they would do, to increase deposit accounts on your website. That's a good way to gauge their experience in the field, a good way to gauge kind of their proactive thinking, and making sure that they're going to be thinking about these things as they build the website, and they're going to partner with you on your goals, not just build something that just to get something out there, but really looking at your FI and seeing your goals, and thinking of great solutions for those, and ways to really build the site for your needs, and not just a one size fits all.
All right. Well, we're kind of ending the end of our 30 minutes here. So I think we can wrap it up if you guys are both good. Yeah.
Good.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Sure.
I just wanted to thank everyone on behalf of Panos Marketing for attending, and to thank Matt and Liz for being a part of this conversation and sharing your bountiful wisdom with us. This webinar has been recorded and will be shared with those who would like it. Please feel free to reach out to us, anyone here at the agency, if you have any questions or would like to chat. And also, please feel free to reach out to us by phone or through our website at panosmarketing.com. Thank you again, and please enjoy the rest of your day.